So what could happen? There could be two approaches. The one approach could be where you would be using a common software for both. There could be a common software for tax and accounting, if you're paying attention, and there could be a single software alone for tax compliance, if you're paying attention. So if you use both in one, okay, any which ways, in this also you will have to use the accounting software, but it is not like merged with this. These are like separate, okay, and this is like, you know, one software, one single application having both the things merged into it. So you could use this way or you could go this way, okay. It depends on your organization, it depends on your need, it depends, both could be right for different types of organizations. Now the most important point for us now is to understand which could be better for you. So as a result of which, what we'll have to do is we'll have to understand the appropriate advantages and disadvantages, or pros and cons of using either the one in which both are merged or using the one in which the tax compliance and both are like separate entities. So there are few points, or there are few bases, or there are few particulars on which you'll have to pay attention while we write or while we try to understand the advantages of both, when both are merged together or both are like, you know, separate. So if we have to look at some particulars in order to understand which one would be better, let us try to understand one particular by particular, one basis by basis, which one could be best for you, which one could be, you know, something which could be a problematic thing for you. So it would be depending on your organization, on your work, on your report type required, whether you would be going for something which is combined version or whether you would be going for something which is separate. So if we have to look at the basis, this is comparatively sensible, easy, and you could relate this thing to general life as well, where you get some things which are like together and where you get some things which are like separately available. One available as a combo thing, one available as a separate thing, okay. So you could relate to those things where you could get a mixer and juicer together, and you get a mixer and a juicer as separate entities. So you will have to think it that way, where you could get a phone along with camera, smartphone, and or you could get a camera which is specific and a phone without a camera. So things could be, both could be like advantageous as well as disadvantageous. Both have their own appropriate existence in the market. So we will have to understand according to our need in which direction we need to go, if you're paying attention. So the first particular or first basis is something which is known as ease of software operation. How easy it would be to work, if you're understanding, how user friendly it would be, how you know, something which would be of less worry, if you're paying attention. So if you think it this way, that when two things are merged together, like suppose a doctor is trying to operate a nose, or doctor is trying to operate a ear basically. Now if ear and nose, or if ear and eyes are not related to each other, he won't be thinking about the eyes, if you're understanding. He just have to independently think about the ear and he would try to operate it. But if it is like related to each other, if there are 2 to 3 nerves which work, you know, together, which working at one place may affect another place. So what happens is you will have to be more cautious, okay. You will have to pay more attention towards the second part as well, that I am doing some changes over here, it shouldn't affect the other part, because this other part is also related to the first part, if you're understanding. So if it is related, I am not independently, I cannot work on this first part because it is related to the second part. As a result of which, my point of focus, my attention, my caution would be more when I would be using something which would be merged. But if it is like a separate entity altogether, I won't be taking into account those factors, and it would be easier for me to operate on the single entry or the single application or the single part single-handedly without worrying of the other part, if you're understanding. So likewise, our syllabus tries to tell us that if you use both as merged one, if you're understanding, if both are merged, the ease of operation, since you will have to work at one place and think about another place, working at one place may affect another place. So it may happen that, you know, if you're entering something over here, it may get corrupted over there. So as a result of which, more attention is required, more caution is required, more time is required basically. Hence, ease of operation is considered to be less over here because it is a merged software basically. So entering at one place affects another place. So in your book you have a tabular format where empty space is there. So what you would be doing is you would be writing the content inside that empty space of what these things mean basically. But before we go over there and write those things, let us try to understand the things, and then we would be writing the things which I'm telling you. We would be making it descriptive, but the less and more thing would be the same. So tax compliance, if it is like a separate software, the ease would be more, because we don't need to take into account that accounting would be affected by this, or this is related to some other module. Let us try to look at the other module as well if it is getting affected. No overhead of such would be there on us when we are using it separately, if you are paying attention. So first one is something which is known as ease of software operation. Second point is something which is known as time and efforts, if you're understanding. Now time, since it is like again a merged thing, and if you need to do tax compliance along with an application which is of accounting application which is like merged thing, definitely both the things are there together. Changing at one place will affect another place, as a result of which, since it is not separate, we would require more time and efforts, if you're paying attention. More time and efforts, but the output would be such that you would be getting both the things. Accounting would also be done and compliance would also be done simultaneously. So time and efforts would be more, but the output would also be more, if you're understanding. Over here, if you're just using it separately, you would be just having to take into account, you don't need to think about the accounting system. You just need to feed the data appropriately in the places, and in the first case, what would happen, that you work at one place, work would automatically be done at 2 to 3 places. But in this, you will be working at one place, work done at one place. You would be working at second place, work done at second place. So you'll have to go and specifically do work, but you know, the time and effort specifically required for tax compliance would be more, because in this you would be automatically doing the accounting. Over here we assume that the accounting has been done and we are doing the compliance only. So if you are doing only compliance which has nothing to do with the accounting application, definitely the time and efforts would be less, if you are paying attention. So over here we are doing two things at a time. Over here we are doing one thing, but the important thing from this topic's point of view is something which is known as compliance, if you are paying attention. So if we just have to think from the specific compliance point of view, it means what, that the time and efforts required would be less in case of single-handed, or in case of single software, if you're understanding. So till now the points have been in favor of the single application if you use. The third point, let us look at the third point. Third point is, now the order doesn't matter basically. Third point is features and facilities. So this is something which is an easier point basically. Features and facilities tries to tell us that if we use an application which has two things merged together, and if we are using an application which is like single, if you're understanding. So just think just take this point as a common sense point and try to understand by the various products which are available in the market. If you go into the market and if you try to purchase a camera, just a camera, and if you go into the market and you try to purchase a phone with a camera basically, definitely if you think over this, the options which you would be having, the features which you would be having in a camera would be more as compared to the camera which is there inside a phone, because we also have to check the compatibility, whether both the things are suitable to each other or not, because a person taking a phone won't accept that the camera is not working and vice versa, if you're paying attention. But a person taking a camera is just specifically camera with him, he could have a lot of features, he doesn't have to care about the second aspect or the phone aspect, if you're understanding. Likewise, if you try and go to purchase a mixer and if you try to purchase a juicer, both separately they can have more features inside them. But if you try to purchase something which is like together, there would be limited features because both have to work on the same platform. So when both have to use the same platform, you can only give as much as possible, as much as both are compatible with each other, if you're understanding. So as much basic is required, you can only provide that. But if you try to include some basic shortcuts and everything, that may not be possible in case of combined version of the application. But single application can have anything distributed, easily done, more easy user interface, so that you can take into account what user uses more and you can put that as a feature or as a function. But in case of merged one, you'll have to think whether it is not affecting the second part, if you're paying attention. So as a result of which, if you have understood this, features and facilities would definitely be less in case of if it is merged, because it has to take into account of both the things, if you're understanding. So what would work here should work over there as well, and the second one should not get affected. So it would be as basic as possible, if you're understanding. But in this you can have more features because these are independent, and including more does not affect the other modules at all, because these are like completely independent. So first point is like ease of software operation. Second, if you are paying attention, is something which is known as time and effort. Third is features and facilities. Fourth, there are in all 5 points. The fourth point, okay, now fourth point is like something, the heading is accuracy, and fifth is something which is known as cost. Now accuracy, now it tries to tell us accuracy. It means what? That if we are using an application which is a merged thing, where there are two things merged into one, accuracy, it tries to tell us that you enter at one place, it automatically, since you're taking more care, since your time and efforts are more, since the ease of software is less, so since you're working hard as compared to the single-handed software, there has to be something which should be achieved more, if you're paying attention. So accuracy would be, you enter at one place, you don't need to re-enter it again. You enter at one place, it is entered in such a way that you don't need to reconcile it again, for understanding. So reconciliation not needed, entering it again not needed, it appropriately takes the data which it requires. So automatically accuracy is there because both are together. It would be giving an error if you enter something which is not related to the second part. So you enter at one place, second part would be trying to automatically take it and prepare the reports of compliance for you. So you enter at one place, and it takes it at second place. You don't need to reconciliation not needed. Whereas in the second part, where it is like single-handed, you have to make the accounting data over here, then put out the document, put it into that, and there may be errors, if you're understanding. So since both the things are not related to each other, they would be treating both the things as independent, and you will have to go back, change the documents, come back over here, then put it again. So accuracy or the errors or the reconciliation would be needed definitely in case of if it is a single-handed software, if you're understanding. So if you are paying more efforts, or if you are requiring lot of time, or if the easiness is less, definitely you achieve something which couldn't be achieved easily in case of a single version software. You achieve more accuracy, and that too in a short duration. As in, you enter at one place, things get entered at compliance as well, and accuracy is definitely there. You don't need to recheck it or something like that. Enter it once and use it twice, or something which happens over here. So one point which comes in favor of both the application is something which knows accuracy, which would be more over here and which would become less in case of tax compliance, if you're paying attention. So in order to remember these points, you could just remember easy facts. F is like features and facilities, A is like accuracy, C is like cost, and T is like time saving. Okay, S is silent in our case. So features and facilities is something which we have seen, accuracy is something which we have seen. Okay, time saving is something which we have seen, time and efforts, and last something which is remaining is known as cost, if you are paying attention. So easy fact is something which you could remember these 5 points of whether you use compliance and accounting together, or whether you should go for the single-handed thing. Now if you go for both the things merged together, if you go for that kind of application, what would happen? Here it is assumed that you have the accounting application with you. Okay, you have the accounting application with you and accounting system with you, and getting the tax compliance application into that accounting application would require some sort of customization, if you're paying attention. So customization would be needed if you have an accounting system. Okay, you put a compliance system into it. This means what? That you'll have to program it in such a way that both of them work properly. Customization specifically made for you, made into one, and there would be efforts needed specifically for your organization in order to make it in such a way that both things are merged into one. But in case of tax compliance application, which is separately available, you can directly get it and directly put it into use, for understanding. So if you have to make it merged along with accounting, definitely more efforts needed, definitely more manpower needed, specifically for you needed. You will have to pay more because you are customizing it. Customizing it is expensive. But if you use it separately, it means what? That you are not creating any kind of thing specifically for you. You are directly using that thing. If you are using directly that thing, definitely you are not spending much. You are just going to spend of the amount which is is there of that particular software, no manpower, no creation of new things needed, no customization needed, as a result of which the cost would be less if you go for separate. Okay, if you merge with, if you try to merge it with the if you try to go with the merged application, the cost would be more. The cost would be more because it would definitely require something known as customization, if you're paying attention. But over here, since it is separate, you can just get the software and you can put it into use. No customization will be required, hence the cost would be less. So if you're paying attention, the point which if you're paying attention, there is some issue in these points. Ease of software is less if you're paying attention, accuracy is more, definitely, features and facilities is again less, but the time and efforts is something which is a point of focus. Since I told you that you would be doing two works in one go, okay, two works in one go. Over here you'll have to do it two works separately, okay, and reconciliation would be needed again. So this is something which is a mistake over here. It would be time and effort would be less and the time and efforts would be more, because here you would be required to work at two places, get the data from one, put into second one, and then go ahead with whether it is correct or not, if you're understanding. So there would be 2 points which would be in favor of something known as going along with the together application, and there would be 3 points which would be in favor of going it separate. So first one is something which is known as ease of software operation. Ease of software operation is in favor of going with single-handed, if you're understanding. Second is something which is known as features and facilities. Again, in favor with going with single-handedly. Okay. Third is something which is known as accuracy. Accuracy is something which is good in case of both. Okay, cost again good in case of single, and last is something which is known as time and efforts. It is again good in case of both, because the time and efforts required would be less if you use both the softwares in a single merged one, because no reconciliation, no rechecking, no errors would be there. Automatically you would be doing work at one place and automatically work would be getting done at the second place, if you're understanding. So our syllabus initially tries to tell us that in this topic that compliance is something which is being following a rule or regulation. An organization has to be compliant, and an organization has to form its personal rules and regulations as well, which is specific to that organization, so that it controls the things which are happening and they are able to achieve the objectives. Along with that, there are some regulatory bodies whom you will have to comply in order to make sure that you become compliant in the industry, in the market, in the country as well, if you're paying attention. So regulatory compliance is something which is made by regulatory bodies, and you will have to follow them. You have to follow the laws and regulations, and compliance can be a general thing which can include regulatory compliance as well. So our syllabus tries to tell us initially that there are two types of laws basically. One which is general and second which is specific. General laws are those laws which are applicable to each and everything, and specific like GST, labor laws, company laws, etc. are applicable to only specific types of organizations. So if an organization has to become compliant or has to file a tax compliance report or any compliant report, basically it takes data from financial accounting system or the accounting system. It means what? That the accounting system which is there, which is taking the accounting data basically of the organization, the monetary data of the organization, is closely related to the reports or the compliance reports which would be prepared for the organization to be compliant. Now what you could do is you can create a software specifically where the two things would be combined, and it would be getting a combined application customized for you, where you do the accounting thing and the tax compliance thing is almost automatically done. Otherwise you can go for a separate compliance software, tax compliance software, and you could get the accounting data done in a separate software and you could input it in the tax compliance software. So you have two choices, and those two choices can be advantageous as well as disadvantageous depending upon what kind of organization you are and what kind of software you prefer to work with. So if you're using both of them together, please pay attention. There are 5 points which you need to understand, which would be with them and which would be against them. So the point, just to remember, the 5 points are: easy facts is the word through which you could remember. Easy stands for ease of software operation. F stands for something known as features and facilities. A stands for something known as accuracy. C stands for something known as cost, and T stands for something known as time saving, if you're paying attention. So ease of software operation, definitely if it is merged together, one thing affecting another thing, a person should be very careful. A person working on accounting should be taking care of the compliance thing as well, and if he is not aware, things would be difficult for him, if you understand. Hence ease of software is less if they are merged together. Okay, second is something which is known as features and facilities. If you go to buy something which is a combined version, like a phone with a camera, the features of the camera would be obviously less as compared to if you go to the market and buy a separate camera, if you're understanding. So as a result of which, when two things are merged together, they have to work hand in hand. They have to have all the operations or basic aspects which can work along with that another part working. As in, we have a single platform and both should be merged on that single thing. So obviously the features and facilities would be the basic which are enough for the user to satisfy that yes, camera is there. It may not have those hundreds of features which a specific camera has. So features and facilities would definitely be more if it is an individual software, if you are paying attention. The third point is something which is known as accuracy, and fourth is which is known as time and efforts. So what happens is, you work at one place, work gets completed at that one place along with the second place, if you're paying attention. So accuracy or time and efforts required for two works would be less as compared to the time and effort which are required to do it in a separate software. So definitely if your ease of operation is less, your time and efforts would be more. Time and efforts required would be less in case of combined application, because you are working at one place and second work is automatically getting happen because it is like customized in such a way that two are merged together and both are like dependent on each other. So work at one place properly with a less amount of ease and with less amount of features, and the work gets done in a less time or in a less amount of efforts. Two work would be done, if you are understanding what I'm trying to say. So since time and efforts would be less in case of merged application, the accuracy means what? That you are going to get the data, put it into the compliance software, the accounting data. So accuracy, the first point itself, where we say that the ease is less, where we say that the time and efforts is like less basically. Why? Because you work at one place, at the second place it is automatically inputted, it is automatically created, the reports are already ready for you. So you don't have to look at the errors or you have already checked each and everything, if you understand. You have already made sure that they are entered in such a way that the compliance reports are automatically made and it automatically checks the accuracy. Whereas if you go into a single-handed, these are like independent. You make first the accounting system data is inputted, which is given as a source to the compliance, and then it would be checking if there are any issues, and then you will be coming back and you will try to reconcile the thing and you will try to improve the thing. So it is automatically done since you're having less ease, and since the features are less but the efforts are also less, your accuracy is more if you are paying attention. And the last point is like cost, where it tries to tell us that if you try to merge it, you'll have to customize it in such a way that both work hand in hand. You'll have to make it specifically for you. You'll have to you'll have to put the manpower of that organization who is making the software, as a result of which the price would increase. But if you try to go and buy it separately, definitely you don't have to put a great amount of efforts apart from buying it in order to make it or something like that, and that would reduce the cost automatically. So the cost would be less if you are paying attention. So there are just 2 points in favor of combined version, that time and effort should be less, important points though, and second, accuracy would be more if you are paying attention. But in case of single version, the ease of software operation would be more, the features would be more, and the cost would be less. So likewise, there are 5 points, 2 in favor of the combined application and 3 in favor of something which is like single application. So if you are paying attention, our book has some space, empty space as a table. Okay, now what you will have to do is, we will have to underline the content, no doubt, on the page number 47, which is the last topic. But before we underline, let us try to write the data which is there in the table which is there on page number 47. You would be able to see 5 points. The first point is ease of software operation.